Welcome everyone to our Tuesday chess stream here on lichess and Twitch. I'm International Master William Paschall. We are streaming, as almost always, from Budapest, Hungary. Welcome guys. We already have several players chatting here. Lord Alamo, Hari Shiva, welcome. So, tournament for me coming up on Thursday. So far, the list I've seen isn't very promising, so it might be a much weaker tournament than it had been in past years. The tournament I'm playing is in southwestern Hungary. Leaving on Thursday, we won't be streaming for a week, and we'll be back the following Friday. Next Friday, we'll be back with our next stream. So, what happens sometimes is that chess organizers don't coordinate themselves, and apparently there's another tournament here in Hungary the same time, approximately the same dates. So that's always a problem when several tournaments conflict with each other. Maybe I should have played in the other one. Alright, so anyway, we're going to go though on Thursday. We're going to play some chess for a week and see what happens. So you guys, you can watch the Draw Fest at the World Championship. Now actually, most World Championship games tend to be draws. When you have two players who are very, very closely matched, the actual most common result is usually a draw. Carlsen almost winning against Karyakin, but he was never actually winning, I don't think. I'm not sure. At least it was something of an interesting struggle yesterday in the third game of the World Championship match. We've got two challenges, Constant Change and Mule Skinner so far. The stream is up on lichess. We will get underway here. If you'd like to play, you can challenge me to anything between 5 and 8 minutes. Blitz or classical chess with an increment. The longer the initial time, for the 8-minute or 7-minute time controls, you can add like a 3-second increment. And for the faster games that are 5 minutes or 6 minutes, you can add a longer increment, like 5 seconds. So let's get underway here. It says I have no viewers, but that's impossible. We already have several people chatting here. I think my Twitch, I will update it. If you guys have any problems with Twitch, just refresh the page. Yeah, there we go. Twitch is a little bit fussy, and it's a little bit weird. Sometimes you just need to keep refreshing it. So, welcome guys. What did you think about the World Championship? It looks pretty boring to me, honestly. I don't really have much hopes for this. But it's got to keep you guys busy while I'm away. Alright, Constant Change. We're going to play 8-3. Give him a second to collect himself. He probably didn't know when I was going to start the game. If you guys do challenge me, try to challenge me to random colors. D4. That's E4, not D4. Alright, wake up, man. I guess I should play C5. I really should play C5. It's my main repertoire. I don't know that I'll be playing E5 in any tournament games in Harkon. I mean, it's not something I would normally be prepared to play. Maybe the Petrov. For very particular opponents who, for whatever reason, I thought the Petrov would be a good choice. I might trot out a Petrov, but I don't think I'm ready to play the black side of the Roy Lopez yet. Saronche, welcome. Good morning, man. Good to have you. Mule Skinner. Hari Shiva, we mentioned. Hello. So, Sicilian is for sure. And the other things I might play on occasion are like the Caro-Kann and the Modern Defense. I'm a little predictable, but I do have several variations of the Sicilian I can play. This is our main defense, so-called classical variation. It's really up to white here. So is an attack, Richter Rouser, or classical. This could be a classical Scheveningen or a classical dragon. And I like the dragon better. The king is safer than in the Scheveningen. The Scheveningen, the king, with this E6, D6 pawn structure, the king isn't quite as safe as in the fianchetto type positions. Now, Constant Change is playing the same kind of setup with colors reversed when I play the English. So there's no surprise here. You know, he likes this kind of open classical dragon type position with the other side as well. We had a game yesterday. Soroche, what? One stream to go to tomorrow? Then I finally can sleep for a week. Yeah, man. Look at the positive side. Here is an interesting position. Thinking about something kind of experimental. Maybe bishop e6. Larson style move. Why not? This castling queenside business is, well, I mean, it's you're playing in the spirit of the Yugoslav attack, but you've played bishop e2, which is quite a slow move, actually. Now we have a little bit of a quandary. I don't know. I was thinking about queen c8 to stop f5. In the event of like queen c8, what am I going to do if he plays h3? Popped into my mind. But I guess we could have some pretty reasonable ideas there, actually. Let's give it a try. This is something original. Something original. We're not in book. I'm not really expecting to face this kind of setup against strong players. Queen e2 followed by a castle's queenside. This is basically like playing, you know, bishop e2 instead of f3 in the Yugoslav type positions. Bishop e2, not really a standard move. Now, we have a position that's actually theoretical if he's castled kingside, but he's castled queenside. So if we look in the database, we're not going to find too many games in this position. I have pressure on the e4 pawn, which is pretty standard. Thinking about the fact that White has such good control of d5. If I play bishop g4 to trade pieces, that's an idea. But I would be concerned that maybe he can simply play bishop f3 in that position. We could play a5, obviously. Looks like a pretty powerful move. In fact, in this position. Yeah. I like a5 here. It wouldn't be such a big deal if he was castled kingside, but being castled queenside, this poses some problems. I'm not sure he can play a4 here. I mean, a4 is a little bit riskant, as we say here in Magyarország. Oh, I didn't even see Astalos Tamás. Yeah. Hey, I have seen this move, queen c8. Ben Feigl played against a 2200 player. But queen c8 is when White's castle kingside, and I have a lot of games, Tamás. I mean, I played against Bela Lengel. It's like recommended by John Donaldson in his Accelerated Dragons book. Maybe not. I think Donaldson recommends maybe bishop d7, in fact. But I guess I got it from Roman. It's a better line than bishop d7. But I think you're probably thinking about lines where White's castling kingside. I would be very surprised if this position exists, you know, theoretically here. Take... Yeah, a4, he goes for it anyway. Maybe I don't have a clear shot. Okay, well that's fine anyway. Maybe we have to do this. I thought there was something for me immediately, but apparently not. All sorts of possibilities in this position, though, after a4. I thought I had a tactic. It's just not there, is it? He just walks off the file. I don't have any sort of tactics with knight takes e4. There's sort of concepts that are close to working, but I don't see it. Yeah, the guy castled queenside. Really? Against Feingold? Castle queenside? Wow. Because castles kingside, this would be like a pretty standard position, I guess. But that is interesting. I guess we play knight b4. I don't see anything else in this position. We have knight takes e4. Knight takes e4. And then raking bishops and tactics with discoveries. But what can I really do? Knight takes e4, knight takes e4. Bishop takes b3, pawn takes b3. Knight d4 check. King b1, he just walks away. Alright, so we've got to increase the pressure somehow. That's all we can do. The C file. Increase the pressure on the C file. That's the only real concept here I can see. I mean, you could try to play d5, but white will play e5, and then you give up the dark squares, like e5. My bishop gets blocked. Oh, knight d4. Wow. Wow. Logical move. Okay. I don't have any tactics after that. Guess not. Alright. There doesn't appear to be any sort of tactic. So the question arises, I could play knight a2 check. Take. But I think that is a weird continuation. Knight a2 check. Takes, knight takes e4. Bishop will get trapped down there. Bishop a2. That's an interesting concept. I'm running out of time. All right, let's give it a shot. As always, in the Sicilian, the e4 pawn is very important for white to keep protected. But constant change is a player who plays super fast. It makes it difficult for me. He doesn't give me any time to think on his time, you know. It's nice when your opponent uses a decent amount of time as well. And with constant change, we never have that luxury. He always plays quickly. Now, knight d7 or knight g4. I have to think about my bishop here. I guess we'll keep it simple. Yeah. Yeah, he's probably okay here. I would still rather be black, but I didn't find anything really concrete. Bishop takes. So it looks like white's probably okay. His central pawn is a very powerful pawn. I mean, I figured I wanted to get rid of this. The position is objectively about equal, I guess. Constant change played too quickly. I couldn't find any really convincing plan here. Now we have a problem. Uh-oh. This bishop on b5 is a joker. Is it good or bad? That'll probably determine the result of the game. White looks better here, but his bishop is still a bit questionable. Never did finish my development. I wouldn't want to be playing Karpov in this position. Fortunately, constant change is certainly not Karpov. He doesn't use his time. He plays just practically, not trying to necessarily find the most incisive move, just trying to put pressure on the opponent on the clock, primarily. Not my personal preferred approach, but if it works for you, then who am I to criticize, you know? Looks like we have a decent blockade, though. At this point, I feel like, you know, we'll go into Karyakin mode and try to hang on. The white squared bishop isn't great. So, we look like we might be able to hang on here in reality. But black's never been better since I pulled that bishop off of a2. If I had had more time, I would have been able to find something really incisive there. But I got down to like a minute with my bishop on a2. I didn't know what to do. It obviously required a very complex solution, and I just started to make like routine moves because of the time situation. But I'm sure if I had the position after bishop a2 in a tournament game, I would have been able to make life pretty difficult for white. I think what would Crouch do? Colin Crouch would get a pint at the bar, man, and that's what he does, dude. I know what Colin would do. He'd walk up to the bar and get another pint. All right, bishop g7. Queen c3 was interesting there, perhaps. So we're trading. Zeus11392, referring to this Colin Crouch's book about defense in chess. I'm just kidding. I just remember. Let's think about this. I don't really want to see that. 17 seconds. I don't know. I have cold air. Cold air issues. Queen f8? Anybody? That's a powerful queen you got there, buddy. Powerful queen. Not real happy about that. Whoa. White's position looks pretty solid. Bishop on b5 is like a big pawn, but it has potential. Whoa. Almost went to the wrong square there. Yeah, this ending, well, I mean, I probably should have played like knight c3 check and taken his bishop, but he just sort of melted down in the ending there. White was clearly better. Like, what can I say? Just trying to survive, and we kind of lucked into a better ending. Alright, so yeah, that was a nice game. The opening not great for White. Probably he's in trouble after bishop a2. Then I let it just completely slip, and White was clearly better, nearly winning, and then we came back and swindled the ending. So that was an eventful game. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, no, Colin Crouch seems like a good guy. All right, so we're playing Mule Skinner. Spinal Tap is online. Mule Skinner, how do we keep you out of your... Oh, you played the Benko yesterday. Yeah, we almost lost that one. Let's see if he goes for that again. I wouldn't mind. I did look that up, interestingly. We had an interesting move order in a Benko Gambit against Mule Skinner yesterday. So I checked it out, and now we know what Zdenko Kozul will do. You've ever asked yourself what would Zdenko do? He's a big theoretical expert from Croatia. Kozul, like for years, was the #1 Croatian player. He's a very strong d4 player with White. He also plays the black side of the Richter Rouser. He's written a book on the black side of the Richter Rouser. Very strong top player. He was apparently playing this line in the Benko, and I was checking it yesterday. I was disappointed with the way the opening went down against Mule Skinner yesterday, and I think we should play a4 right away there. But apparently a4 is the idea. When they delay this capture on b6 for so long, I didn't know this. I mean, I have seen such ideas before. But apparently this idea of a4, a5, taking away the b6 square. Now, Mule Skinner immediately played queen b4, which makes me suspect he's possibly not up on this line. He's just walking right into rook a4. It's not anything devastating. Not anything devastating, but it just kind of wastes time, you know. My rook isn't exactly great on a4. So the concept is that a5 ties black up. It takes away the b6 square. He can't use that for maneuvering. And apparently white is at least equal in the games that I saw. I saw a Kojul Asmai Parashvili game, I think. There's all kinds of different places he can move the queen in this position. They've tried everything, like queen a7, queen b7, queen c7, queen b8, queen d8. It looks like queen a7 for some reason. Not to block the other squares is a common idea. Constant Change felt this would be my first win. You were close, man. I mean, with Karpovian technique, you might have been able to take me out there. I mean, e5 almost did the trick, but I had bishop f8 just hanging on by my teeth. And, I mean, you have a big strategic advantage, but it's just like that bishop on b5 it's restricting, but it's like a one-dimensional piece. If it can't move, it's hard for you to really, like, increase your advantage. In the end, it kind of lost the game because I end up with that knight versus bishop position where the bishop is really semi-useless. So, well, I mean, you went a little bit crazy with g4 and stuff. I don't think you should have done that. Now, back to the action here. Yeah, knight e8 now, classic move. What am I supposed to do here? Probably my rook on b4 is not great. Or a4, that is. Bishop c4. He wants to play knight c7, knight b5. There's also a question of how I should defend my b2 pawn and be able to move my bishop from c1. So I have to keep b2 protected, a5 protected all the time, e4 protected all the time. I have to be able to, like, move my bishop from c1 and keep him restricted, all this stuff at the same time, basically. And then the idea would be if I can lock it down kind of in the center on the queen side, I can, well, on the queen side, let's say, if I can lock it down on the queen side somehow, just secure that area, then I could ultimately expand and attack him in the center on the king side. But how can I do that? He's got the plan of bishop, knight c7, and I see, okay, maybe this. See, this is a move I can make, particularly only in this type of position where I have the pawn on a5. Otherwise, he would be just, like, killing me with knight b6. So it's not often in the Benko, like, we can put the bishop on c4. In this Benko line, where we give the pawn back with b6, I'm not used to playing this position with my pawn on a5. So I noticed yesterday, looking at some games, that this bishop on c4 tends to be an idea. Ultimately, his pawn could become a weakness on a6, and that's part of my plan here. Okay, trading pieces, I agree, that's a very rational reaction from Mule Skinner. Well, we have a couple possibilities here. I don't want to drop my pawn on b2, unfortunately. I could play bishop h6. Queen takes b2, bishop takes f8. Bishop h6. Yeah, maybe I'll pass on that and just play this. This was the idea with bishop c4, trying to put more pressure on a6 and stuff, but I have the feeling like I'm trading a very fine line here. Maybe I better worry about bishop d7. Mule Skinner's plan to trade pieces is very logical when he has little space. I couldn't really stop it though. Now what? Rook a3 with lateral mobility. Rook a2. Rook a2 just getting out of the way. About rook b3, well, honestly, I'm hoping to play b3 at some point, so then in that case, the rook would be useless anyway. I don't really see a future with this rook moving laterally, so we'll just skip that concept. And now there, and that's the problem. Okay, so here we have a new idea. Knight a4. Knight a4 to go knight b6. Looks like the right idea here. But I think black's fully okay in this position. Pretty much. But again, a really strong technical player like Karpov might be able to grind this. Some kind of spatial advantage. We might still have something. We got to be very accurate. This is the problem in this line, though. Black always has this nagging counterplay along the half-open B file, so it's not exactly, you know, an easy variation for white to play. If he gives up his white square bishop, he gets rid of a powerful knight, but he loses some of his his chances on the white squares. Obviously, that bishop is pretty well placed, you know, looking both ways. So, you know, the f5 type of stuff isn't as scary as it was. There he goes for the obvious plan. And now it looks like we're squeezing him a little bit. Play f4 here. Kind of like f4. Because you can't put two pieces on d4. One or the other. You can't put both. He'd like to put both pieces on d4, but that's just not realistic. The other move I was thinking about was queen d3, but honestly, I was a tiny bit concerned he could play f5, maybe. That looks really awful positionally, though. So queen d3 would have been okay too. Today is Tibor Karoy's birthday. Hungarian chess trainer. All right, an author. Bishop g7. Good. Thank you for letting me know, Facebook. Anyway, so knight d4. Should I go to d1 perhaps? Or d3? A little more active on d3. Are you streaming in 4K? Sorry, I'm not that technically oriented. What do you mean by 4K? I'm not a technicoach at all. So, Queen B7, Mule Skinner with... I'm streaming at a very low frame rate. Queen B7, man. This is pretty tough. I guess I'll play B3 and then regroup. But B3 does give him access to knight C3. Does that matter? Could be better to play rook A2 first and then B3. And then again, if I play B3, he can triple up. The thing is, he's got this A6 pawn problem with my queen on D3. There it is, see? He's going to drop that pawn anytime he tries to do something frisky. He's going to drop the pawn. I could play B4, actually. That's kind of crazy move. Yeah, let's not say we did. Rook A2. Got the potential to laterally maneuver I talked about earlier. It also relieves the guard so that my bishop can move. Kojal was just like bishop D2, bishop C3 in one game. And rook D8. This we like to see. That doesn't seem to be particularly relevant. I guess he's trying to discourage me from playing E5. Queen D7. He looked for some counterplay there. He was looking around for counterplay. Wow. But how are you going to defend your A pawn? Maybe he doesn't care about the A pawn. He has other things on his agenda. Think like Magnus. Just the tiniest advantage, we can try to grind him down. Risk-free. Rook there. Wow. Well, what else can I do? Right? Think about this for a second. Maybe rook C2. If rook C2, my bishop on A6 gets a little weird. No, this is good. This is okay. It does seem strange to pull this rook. He's got counterplay here. The thing was with the other rook, I was concerned about a different problem. But queen C4 here. Then queen A3. So this is more or less forced. So I have no idea what we're supposed to do now. Maybe we play F5. Excuse me, guys. E5. Sorry. Sorry, folks, for coughing, but some kind of dust or cold air is bothering me here. E5, take. My rook is hanging all the time. There's a lot of counterplay here. All right. Very, very tough game for Mule Skinner. Plays the Benko. This variation like a god. Honestly. Really high resolution. The obvious answer is no. The obvious question is no. No, I'm not. Obviously, I'm going to have to give a pawn back here. But, I mean, this pawn on a6 should be worth something. There's a distractionary factor. I can't sit here and babysit the c3 pawn. Structurally, black will be better. I mean, with a snake-like formation. You have to take into consideration long-term structure of black is better. He has a protected passed pawn on c5, which in a sense is more powerful than an isolated pawn. Which way do we go? Which way did he go? Rook takes c3. My king just doesn't have any kind of safety here. Now e5, take. Try to create some maximum chaos, I guess. Just goes for that material. Interesting. I have to try to break through in the white squares. Queen a3. Threatening rook takes h3 check or something. Man. Rook e3. Feels like this should be a win for me. I just could have cemented it. Yeah, that wasn't the best move. Wasn't the best move not taking e7 with check. Coming out for a visit, perhaps. I think I had better there. All right, well, tough game, Yul Skinner, man. That's as tough as it gets. 67 moves. Could have gone either way. Jay McCormack, thank you for having 50 rated games. So guys, we are going to be leaving on Thursday for a tournament here in Hungary. I will not be streaming for a week, so we'll let Bishop F4. I love it. We'll let Magnus Carlsen entertain you while I'm gone. I think you're in capable hands, if not. I mean, I can be sort of technical and dull at times, but I think we can say that Magnus is a little bit worse when he's playing World Championship matches with Karyakin. But yesterday got kind of entertaining, and I think as we see the match like draw, Carlsen is gonna increase the level of risks he's willing to take to try to beat good old Sergey. So the London system, yeah, it's a really tough opening. I've been working with the c5 lately, and that leads to usually something like queen b6, queen b3. But I find this trading queens to be really kind of against the concept of playing for a win. So mostly it's just really difficult to play for a win against the London system in the King's Indian or any other formation. Maybe I'll revert back to this reversed Reti, basically. Back in the the late 80s, early 90s, I remember Andrew Martin, still around, writing books and creating videos. He recommended the following setup, based on the double fianchetto, and I think that it still remains a very valid option for black. Now, white is not playing h3 here. There is the possibility of playing knight h5, going for his bishop pair. I was also thinking about bishop a6. I've done that before. Bishop on d3 though, something about that. Something about that bishop on d3. Most often white puts the bishop on e2. This, if you go back in history and check it out, like Vyacheslav Asnos wrote a book on the Reti opening, the complete Reti. He used to categorize every variation in his book about, every setup black could play against the Reti, and the setups with like bishop f4 and bishop e2. I think he called it the Lasker setup. Knight e4 trading pieces. Well, that's all fine and good, but I think it's not really like a attempt for white to gain an advantage. You're spending time to trade pieces. Probably for me, objectively, that's beneficial. Trading pieces. I'm black. I have a tiny bit less space, so I think this is a waste of time for white. But there's some question about the placement of the bishop on d3. Oftentimes it goes on e2. because you get forked. These pawn forks happen, and pawn forks happen to good people. E5, E4. Be careful. Just watching the game was exhausting. Well, you have two players who are grinders, and Carlsen more of a technical grinder than Karyakin. Karyakin's like a full game grinder. You know, he plays a little more like for like direct attack type positions, opposite side castling in the Sicilian. Carlsen likes. Oh, this is a piece drop, Jay McCormack. I'm gonna offer him a take back. We have one take back every session, every stream. Karyakin likes really sharp Sicilians. Not that Carlsen doesn't play those positions sometimes, but Magnus likes to win like without risk, basically. What did I do? No, cancel. All right, no, it's your move. Karyakin a little more full-blooded games he likes to play. So, but expect more of the same, basically. One of these days, Karyakin is going to maybe lose one of these endings. You know, I mean, you look at the first three games, you're kind of like, well, Magnus almost won game 3. Has Karyakin ever even attempted to get an advantage? Not really. So, it looks like he's gone into like shell. He's like a turtle hiding in his shell. He's just kind of like, well, you can't beat me. It could happen that every single game is drawn. I wouldn't rule it out. You know, with a 12-game match, that is not that unrealistic. And then everybody would like keep their self, you know, image, and everybody would be happy. They'd get money, and Carlsen would still be world champion. No, wait a minute. What am I saying? It's not like an old school. There's tiebreakers. Oh, never mind. No, in the old days, okay, there used to be like tied matches. That can't happen now. We have tie breaks. Okay, I'm still in the 90s. Well, anyway, I mean, Carlsen will probably win. He's more likely to force a mistake in the fast time control than he is. If it goes down to the faster games, rapid games at the end, it's more likely Carlsen can force some kind of mistake from Karyakin in some kind of technical position. Queen b1, now that's a good move. I have e5. But now the bishop on b3 is defended. Maybe I don't have e5. And I should always have e5, no? Knight takes f6. Bishop takes f6. Deju says that Karyakin will never lose. Why are you saying so? Karyakin will never lose. Well, if you thought that Donald Trump was an upset, I think that Carlsen losing would be a bigger upset than the U.S. presidential election, honestly. It may seem more random, but in fact, I think you're talking about like a guy, you know, who's the highest rated player of all time against a guy who's ranked like 5, or what is Karyakin, like 6, 7? What is he ranked in the world? I mean, is he even in the top 10? I guess he's in the top 10, right? I mean, dude, it's not like he's even number 2 in the world. Why should he not lose to Carlsen? It's, I don't know, maybe you're being sarcastic. I'm not sure, but yeah. So obviously we know who the favorite is. I mean, I'm not going out on a limb here saying that Carlsen's going to win. Bishop g5. That's a good move. He's glad he got a take back. Knight takes f6. All right. No, this take back did wonders for white. He's 9th in the world against number 1. I mean, you know, what can you say? I mean, he's definitely the dog. I'm not, you know, surprising anybody with this concept. I don't like the format of, and I've been vocal about this, you know, I just don't like the format of the World Championship candidate cycle. Why should you have one tournament determine like who challenges for the World Championship? That's inane, you know. It should be like a series of tournaments. The variance in one tournament is huge. That doesn't tell you who the best challenger should be. Bishop e4 there, a very interesting move. Then I have to play c6, not to trade bishops. But e4 is also okay. J. McCormack. 1400 blitz. That shuts me down pretty good. My dark squared bishop is not great. It's not going to be so easy to do anything here. Maybe we just double on the file, put pressure on the e4 pawn. That's all we can do. Bishop is very bad. Did you use a software to broadcast? Or do you do that with this website? No, this is using Open Broadcasting Software, OBS. It's freeware, basically. Open shared software. So, and I'm terrible with like technical computer stuff. I'm a chess player, not a technology guru. So a lot of people are always like criticizing me for my lack of technical knowledge. What can I say? That's not my bag. Queen f4 here. So the idea is to put more pressure on e4. You stay there, okay? We don't need any a5. No, that's okay. We'll pass on that. So a6 or a5 here. I think a5 is fine. But a6 was probably a little bit on the safer side. Now rook a3, that is a bit weird. Rook a3. Rook d7, rook d6, rook d6. Rook d7 would have been a better move, wouldn't it? I feel like rook d7, because sometimes I'm going like rook over and bishop f8, hitting his rook on a3. So this has the additional ability to play like rook f6 actually, which might be interesting. Yeah, that's the problem with a5. It was a very stupid move by me to play a5. It would have been better to go with the straightforward. Still, it may just be good for me. Let's double up. Worst comes to worst, I could play rook a8, but that's extremely passive. So bishop c2. What's up now? Well, we can play bishop c6, I guess. J. McCormack. b5. Okay. It's really gone for it. I think b5 is a bit inflexible. That's what I thought you'd do. But I have bishop f8 now. And I was already mentioning this possibility. Trying to get our dark squared bishop into the game powerfully, and if we can do that, that could turn the tide decisively in black's favor. Maybe rook d6 will turn out to be a vital move. g3. Made possible by your friendly sponsor, rook on a3. Okay, fine. Well, I can't drop the e5 pawn here, so I'm forced to retreat. You get the feeling he's playing like actually this move. He has a couple possibilities here. Rook c3 I didn't like. That's passive. I mean, you could play rook f3 or even rook d3. Maybe trying to trade. This looks very bad for white now. Still, he doesn't seem to be lost completely to rook f3. Does look extremely unpleasant for white. Queen d6, queen e6. Queen e6 allows knight d3, queen d6. Where am I supposed to go here? Queen e7? I guess queen e7 is the safest of all. Also the most passive. Strange play, this game. Very strange game. Rook's double, bishop pair. White's still perfectly okay. Knight g2 though, why there? You had something on d3. I still can't do anything. This is crazy. f5 just weakens my king side. No, f5 bishop. He's playing knight e3 now. It's too risky. I don't know what to do. I guess I'm going to lose on time. Knight h4. This was 8-3. I felt like I was playing 5-minute. Why would you avoid the exchange of rooks? This is one of the most bizarre games I've ever played here on the stream. It looks like I have everything, and I can't do anything to break through. Bishop takes e4. Maybe this. Maybe this works. The trick to win a pawn. Yeah, I think I'm only winning a pawn. I don't know how to make progress there. Pulling teeth. Jay McCormick. Specializing in family dentistry. Yeah, we had a little trouble making progress against you. Man, that was tough. I think there, if you don't exchange knight for bishop, you can still make my life a living hell. Really nice way to hang on. It was an ugly position, but he was just hanging on. Hanging on. Ghost Mind has played 35,000 games. That's got to be like one of the highest on lichess, no? I know there's guys with 100. Queen G4. Queen G4, yeah, maybe at some point I could have tried to massage the white squares there, but I didn't see exactly. Queen G4 at some point, attacking, yeah, the rook on F3 maybe. Nothing clear though. Guys, I just want to remind you, I have a YouTube channel. Video Chess Training is the name of the channel on YouTube. I try to upload all the streams from here over there. I also do like sometimes weekly reviews of games I play here, my weekly simul, or maybe other independent videos I've created for instruction. Check it out, like and subscribe over there on YouTube. We are going to see, I don't think we're going to see the Scandinavian in the World Championship. Magnus messes around with openings in regular tournaments, but you know, I think he, like everybody else knows, the Scandinavian is not nearly as good an opening as like E4, E5. So I expect Magnus to stick to his guns. I think he's ready, you know, if it comes down to 12, you know, 6-6 or whatever, he's ready to go to the rapid play, you know, as the favorite against Karyakin, if it comes to that. He would prefer to wrap it up, you know, but if it's 12 draws or something like they both win a game, it wouldn't surprise me. But then you might see the Scandinavian or something like that. I think that Magnus would probably loosen up a little bit with openings and a faster time control. Are you the Indiana Jones of chess, of lichess? Why? Do I want to ask that question? Do I want to go there? Bishop back to C8 really, Ghost Mind? Does that seem like a good idea? Do I want to know why I might be the Indiana Jones of lichess? Because, is that because Blade Runner's been filming here in Budapest for the last 2 months? Harrison Ford is in the neighborhood? Is that why you're asking? Bishop E3. Harrison Ford has been all over Budapest the last couple months. He's taking selfies with everybody. People are chasing him around the city to get his autograph. I don't know if they're done or not. It seems like it's been going on for a while. Okay, so Ghost Mind goes into one of these like old school Scandinavians where they try to fiend shadow on the king side. White should have a slight advantage. Nothing earth-shaking going on though. I think that it's not a bad idea. When I place the bishop on d3 to play g6, it's usually pretty much nullifying that bishop. So if I had my druthers, as they say, I might prefer to have the bishop on c4 here, but it's all right. He doesn't really have a great place to put his white squared bishop. Maybe e6 sometimes. e6 would be, or possibly a double fianchetto. Fianchetto. Soroche, what's up? My channel, thank you. Again, guys, so don't forget, we are going to be away. So tomorrow is my last stream for a week, and then we'll be streaming again Friday the 25th, the day after Thanksgiving, if you live in the US or Canada. Actually, Canada, do you guys have Thanksgiving on the same day in Canada? Like, I'm assuming there's someone from Canada here. We usually have quite a few Canadians in the stream, so there might be one handy. But anyway, the 25th of November, we'll be back with a Blitz and Classical stream, and then the 27th of November, we'll be doing a simul, and I will update it in my stream info, my stream feed. Ghostmind, you're all out of takebacks. We already had our takeback for the stream last game, so he'll have to make do with the piece down here. He wants a takeback now. Dude, you wouldn't give me a takeback when I wanted a takeback. That's not fair. Alright, we'll give him the takeback. Now he's got to give me a takeback. But this is seriously now the last takeback. I'm not going to forgive anyone else. But it does ruin the game. So if it's a competitive blitz game, I'm all against takebacks. But if it's a mouse slip, that's another thing. If it's an obvious mouse slip. But in the stream, when I'm trying to, instruct everybody, then takebacks make sense. Not constant takebacks, but if it's a normal position, interesting position, you're just dropping a piece for nothing. That's sort of like, well, we wasted our time with this game, didn't we? Okay, but I'm serious. This is the last one. It's like borrowing money. Can I borrow 10,000 forints? Then another guy wants to borrow 10,000 forints. Pretty soon you're like one of the biggest money lenders at the poker game. Rook g8. So we get the dark square bishop here. I'm a little bit wary about my bishop on h6 not getting like stuck. Particularly if he takes with the pawn here. Now it's not in danger of getting stuck. This opening it's pretty disastrous for black at this point. He's missing his dark squared bishop. He can't castle into the safe haven of his fianchetto structure. Still not down material, but now that's a good try. a5, I agree. Maybe a3 or c3. I guess I'm going to opt for a3. Why a3? Because after c3, bishop f5, and he trades his white squared bishop and trades off my bishop pair. And taking like opens the g file for him. So if you think about it, it's much better to play a3 to stop knight b4. Maybe I didn't have to play anything. I could have just ignored knight b4 or moved my bishop or something, but I don't want to give him any kind of chances. Sounds like you had the bite put on you for a loan a few times. Oh, yeah, they're terrible, man. I mean, it's not good. I can't lend money anymore. It's not a good business unless you're really, really cold-blooded, and you'll have people's arms broken and have their cars turned over and stuff like that. You can't be a soft loan shark. It's just not a good idea. So yeah. Never ever loan money unless you're just absolutely ruthless. Bishop f5. Bishop f5 here. No, I don't want to open up the file for you. I could play bishop b5. Then he gets control of e4. So we're still better. His king's stuck in the center. We've got better central control. a5. Bishop b5 was a possibility, but I didn't like him having control of e4. Eventually, I can bring this piece back in the center. Or maybe just bishop g5, actually. But I like his king in the center. Uh-oh. Now queen d5. That looks like a pretty provocative move. Allowing me to play c4. Queen takes c4 is his trick. So we cannot kick the queen unless we've got something up our sleeves. King a1, knight b4. He's also got knight e4. So Ghost Mind is maybe one of the best games he's ever played against me, barring the take back. Positionally correct game. Tactically, he's got ideas of queen takes c4, which is very, very troublesome. I know that Ghostmind wouldn't give me a take back, so I feel kind of weird about the take back. But that's the kind of person I am, you know. I have a heart. That's why I can't be a loan shark. Alright, now what? Come back to the center. Some kind of queen move, maybe queen e2. Queen e2. Queen e2. Let's do it. Repositioning. We're still not threatening anything clear. Maybe we are. You'll never know. Till next move. I like queen e2. I like this move. We can play rook takes d3. Yeah, now the point is c4. c4 is on here. I was thinking castle's queenside, but then I have bishop c4. And then bishop takes f7, which should be good for me. Well, alright. I mean, I should at least win a piece here for a couple pawns. Or more. Yeah, this is over. He finally fell apart. Alright, it was tense for a while there. I found queen e2 though. That's a move I was kind of proud of, actually. Oh man, you had rook takes. But it doesn't work. Ah, rook takes was good for me. Okay. For a second I thought I blundered, but rook takes g6, rook takes g6. thought he had knight takes c3 in between, but it didn't matter. Alright, Inakio, I have rook g8 check, winning his rook on a8 in some lines. So it got a little weird, but I think we always had it under control. Queen e2 was a tough move to find, though. Yesterday, was it yesterday? I think he's gone for knight b4. Absolutely, knight b4 was a huge part of his plan, of course. Queen e2 was good because it sets me up to play rook takes d3. It threatens bishop c4 in key lines. So that was the key line. Castles queenside and bishop c4. He can't castle. He trading... Probably he should just trade bishops. That's probably his best. Like bishop takes d3 and rook takes d3. I could also take with the queen. I don't know which is better, but his best would have been to trade. Okay, so Nakiwa plays b4. He played an interesting game with white in a Sicilian yesterday where I was equal, but I decided to try this kind of risky exchange sacrifice. This is my pet line against several things, actually. b4 and b3. I like b3 better than b4 personally. There's an interesting game I have seen after b3, bishop d5, bishop b2, bishop g4, f3. Seems like not a bad line for white, actually. But here b4, it's a lot more weakening. So there's more restrictions about what white can do. Now h3, once I've mentioned this on the stream before. Yuri Lapshin played queen c1 against me and won a game in the New York Masters. It had nothing to do necessarily with the opening that he won. It was a 30-minute game, and later on I made some mistakes. I had a good opening. But that's an interesting move, though. It's kind of a Queen's Indian idea. Queen c1. A novel way of breaking the pin. Lapshin incidentally wrote a book on b4. Co-authored a book or something like that. h3. So bishop h5, g4, bishop g6. Well, I think I have to. I mean, bishop f5 doesn't really make that much sense. If I play bishop f5, he can just develop as if like that's where I went in the first place. So I think I have to be, consistent here with bishop h5. What's up, guys? What's that? F-Fan Aletto says, "You're new. Can you explain to me what is Slaggy winning after every game?" No, I'm not winning anything. I wish we were winning something. That's a good idea. Why don't you guys wager money against me? And that's what I used to do in Harvard Square for about 10 years. Not that long, actually. I was actually a blitz chess hustler for quite a period of time in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Not 10 years, but I did it for more or less like 5 years. I made a reasonable living for a college-age student person. Even after I graduated, I was still playing blitz for money. But it's not exactly an elegant lifestyle. What are we winning after every game? We're winning pure ego points. I don't know, A3. So it would be interesting to try some sort of flagrant gambit here, like E5. Not really sound. Knight C6 maybe. You have your choice. Knight C6. He's always got B5 though. I'm walking into B5 if I play that in a lot of lines. Probably not right. F6 is interesting. Richard Rapport style. There was an awful game that Rapport played in the... Did you guys see that? In the European Club Cup? Rapport versus Rajabov. It was just offensive what he did. He was like violating every basic opening principle with white. And he almost got serious chances against Rajabov, but he still got hosed in the end. Rapport, if he was a little bit more controlled, he could be, who knows how far he could go. What do I do here? A3, just knight d7, or c6 is pretty solid. We go c6, Slav style. It's a little passive. This is a little bit passive, but I don't really know what to do. I don't like knight c6, walking into b5 type of ideas. Knight d7, maybe. So eventually he plays g4. Again, as usual, I tend to waste a lot of time in the early stages of the game when I'm streaming here for some reason. I'll tend to like spend 1 minute on several moves and get myself in time pressure. I'm going to try not to do that in my over the board tournament. Now we have bishop e4. Probably doesn't do much. He just plays knight f3. So I'd like to support the concept of e5, but perhaps... Okay, knight d7. What am I supposed to do? We have a solid position. I'm not a huge fan of the Slav, and I don't play a lot of Slav type positions. And I kind of wanted to get something more aggressive, some more aggressive setup. Usually the Slav type setups are very solid, but knight f3 now. Innocuo. I was talking about gambit type ideas. Maybe e6. It's quite passive, this setup for black, actually. But he does have a lot of weaknesses. I mean, b4 and g4, it's pretty ugly. I mean, it should come back to haunt white here. You know, where is he going to put his king, ultimately, in this position? If the position opens up, his king is going to be in serious trouble. I could see like one or the other, but b4 and g4. W. Rex says, Oliga sometimes hustles the hustlers by flagging them rook versus rook. Pretty fun to see. If you want to go play for money, go to Brooklyn. Yeah, well, it's really fun to be flagged with rook against rook. I like it when Oligas and I will have some one of his boring openings, like the Lasker Queen's Gambit, and I'll have like 3 minutes and he'll have 4. And we'll reach like a rook ending, which is his specialty, and he'll flag me like with rook and 3 against rook and 4 in a 200 move game where we played like the majority of the game moving, you know, he moves his rook back and forth to every legal square. Like, that's really fun. You know, a really quality guy. We enjoy. No, at one point I decided I won't play him anymore. If I get paired with him, I just resign, or I'll let my flag run out. Basically, someone was like offended by that, you know. But if you knew the history, I mean, I think that it's more honorable to just resign without playing than letting his flag run out. But technically, you know, it's within the rules. And after all the times he's flagged me in rook versus rook with no pawns on the board and stuff like that, you know, I feel like he needed a little bit of payback. So anyway, well, white's position in Innocuo is pretty reasonable, actually. Bishop d6, trading pieces. He doesn't trade pieces here. I think that is controversial because of e5. You have less space and you're avoiding a trade of pieces. Probably dangerous policy. I want to keep option open to castle either side. We're going to blow up this b pawn with a5 at some point. But Inocuo played a very tough game with me yesterday. No, I mean, I know Olegas. I played him live and online, so he's not a great player by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a specialist in endgames, and he is also a specialist in moving very fast. Those two things, you have to hand it to him. Other than that, he's not really much of a chess player. So this is a trap to trap my bishop here, but actually my bishop can go to b3, so is my bishop really trapped? Bishop takes c2, bishop b3, and is my bishop getting trapped or not? You know, is it worth it? Bishop b3 is sort of hard for him to attack it, and we could get it out one way or another, but should we play a5 anyway first? Probably can't hurt. That might make bishop takes c2 all the more playable if I'm able to kind of break it up over there. Did you guys see, I think he's trying to say, Anand mashing his opponent to St. Louis. Anand, yeah, Anand is a great player, but he's not motivated, and he's not really good at matches. But he likes playing tournaments. Now a4, interesting. Bishop takes c2, d3, bishop b3. I'm going to grab this. My bishop looks safe enough on b3. I don't think it's getting trapped. No, Anand is Anand, man. He's a great player. But his play against Carlsen in those World Championship matches, I couldn't even watch. It was like he wasn't even himself. So Karyakin is a vast improvement. Karyakin actually has confidence in himself, you know, and that's the thing that Anand had no confidence in himself against Carlsen. Normally he does, but I guess he just like has no confidence when he faces the great Magnus Carlsen. He just sort of melts down. Bishop b3, gonna be hard to trap my bishop on b3. a4. That's not only securing my bishop and my pawn, but fixing that pawn on a3. Bishop on b3 also does a nice job like guarding its potential sacrifices on d5 are off now, so black's completely winning. Today's broadcast does not show up on Twitch like it used to. Is this really to go over your comments on the Benko? It will show up. I have to, I guess you have to wait until the video is over. So f4, I don't know, man. I just take. The knight is badly placed on c3. So I'm actually not in a hurry to trade queens and bring his knight to e2 to d4, etc. King and I reference purely coincidental. Alright, so we're just going to castle out of town. We are getting out of town. Knight is horrible on c3. I'll do anything I can not to encourage that piece to improve its position. It's completely stymied, you know. Blocking the bishop on b2, has nowhere to move. So why should I, you know, trade queens and help him go to his best square there? It's very important that you guys always think about the other guy's pieces, you know, and the other guy's plans. And that's part of being like a good prophylactic player. What now? Stopping rook e1, first and foremost. It's kind of like playing poker, you know. Bad players think just about their cards, and good players think about the other guy's cards and what they're trying to do. It's very much the same in chess. If you're just thinking about your plans and you're not thinking about the other plans, the opponent's plans, you're making a big mistake. So here now we have check, followed by rook e3, and stealing the initiative, because we want to... I don't want to retrieve my knight passively. I want my knight to go to h5, and if I can get this queen to retreat, we get in knight h5 in some lines. However, there may be a technical problem, not a big one. No, never mind. There is no technical problem. This I forgot this is protected. The handy bishop on b3. So he's going to have to sacrifice his queen or else let my knight into h5. There is no other option. He could sack his queen if he wants to. He has about enough material for it. His coordination is pretty questionable. Maybe there's no other option. I mean, it looks pretty ugly. Guys, if you have any questions about chess lessons or training or just general suggestions for the stream, you can email me. My email is videochesstrainer@gmail.com. videochesstrainer@gmail.com. Good job, man. Sacking the queen here. Absolutely mandatory. I'm forgetting it's my move. Yeah, I'm not gonna... Maybe I'll hide behind his pawn, actually. I'm going to try to keep it closed. Try to keep it closed. It's fortunate that I have bishop f8 to guard the back rank in many variations. Maybe I should have let him take on g7. Not really a big deal, I guess. I can hide behind his pawn. Rook f1. That is a surprise. I really thought you have to go rook e1 to control the file in this position. Look like only chance. Your rook's doubled in the f-file. You can play f5, but then what? g4. There it is. That's a good move, knight d1. I guess I chop it off. Do I chop it off? Yeah, it looks pretty dangerous, actually. You can chop it off, play rook on the 7th. Simplify, usually the right idea. This bishop on g2, it's a catastrophe. As an offensive piece, it doesn't exist. It's only a defender, and it's kind of like a pawn. You guys, that's the ambulance coming for my opponent. Oh. Now we don't have the back rank defense I was talking about. We no longer have bishop f8, so I have to be a little bit careful. e5. Well, maybe rook e6 there. b8's covered. e8's covered. There's no back rank mates. We'll just make lift for the king to head to h7 if need be. There it is. So I should have in fact played probably. Ooh, he got a tactic there. It's okay. I'm gonna have to let him have it. Bishop takes d5. Rook takes f6. Should be okay. And then we get out of back rank mates forever with h6. Eventually these pawns have got to fall. These guys are pretty weak. Oh no! Oh no! Lost my queen. Good game in Akio. I thought that was free. Oh god. Called the ambulance for my opponent. Yesterday I did the same thing in, if you guys want to see. Yesterday I did this game in Chess 960. I'll show you guys just this really awful blunder I made. Same thing. Well, where is it? Oh, it was bad. Look at this. Przewalski. I played this tense game with the guy in Chess 960, and here, this is how I lost. The final position was like pretty close, and I just played rook takes g2. I thought that it's just not protected. So it's going around. I don't know, man. This is the second time I overlook one move. One move captures. Very strange, but CH7130156. I can't play 10-8, man. That's a very, very long time control that takes like half an hour. Astalos Tamash, GCEW, Shaggy Britches, we will play. So anyway, Inakua, well done. You know, hanging tough, and I have a tendency to overlook pretty obvious one-move captures in the last 24 hours, but it's okay. The ambulance was here, and it was ready for me, so that's all right. Yeah, as soon as you start gloating, you lose. That's normally what happens. Caveman chess. We like the hack and the fishing pole. 50 minutes left. Chess can't attract money. Yeah, I mean, like, okay, people are asking me, why don't I have a subscribe button on Twitch? And Twitch requires generally streamers, I guess, you know, to have 500 viewers in general for having a subscription button. But I guess with chess streamers, they probably would make it less. But yeah, seriously, if you think about it, you know, what's the maximum number of viewers like any chess streamer would get? If I was a GM who was as good at streaming, you know, if I was a stronger player, an equally good streamer, but even stronger than myself, maybe I could get, I don't know, 150 viewers instead of 75. If I was like a top GM, maybe I could get 250. And if I was Magnus Carlsen, maybe I could get 500, you know, or 1,000. But I'd have to get paid, you know what I mean? A lot of money. So, yeah, chess streaming. I mean, maybe it would be better to stream on YouTube. I don't know, you know, rather than Twitch, because Twitch is is primarily a gaming streaming platform, and the functionality of Twitch is the best, but it just doesn't seem like maybe Twitch is the best platform. I don't know. If anybody has any suggestions, it's obviously like for Twitch, any streamer who has less than 500 viewers is probably not really, it's just a drop in the bucket for them as far as advertising and stuff goes. So yeah, chess is tough. Bishop e7 here. Played bishop f4. I'm not used to this system too much. Zeus has about 1,000 tops. Obviously, yeah, if it's Magnus Carlsen and, I mean, you know, it's advertised well, it could be like 5,000 or more, but then you'd have to pay Magnus Carlsen like a fortune, you know, to do something like that. So it's just not, you know, not viable. So I don't know. Chess is not as popular as video games. That's the reality that we live with. c5, c takes d5. Maybe I'm supposed to play another move here. D takes c5, I guess. You can take twice. ed, dc. I mean, I guess these are both variations. I'm actually trying not to exchange pieces, I suppose, here. This is the first time we played with Asselos Tamás. He's actually from Romania. Many times I've been to Transylvania. Tamás, where are you from, man? Who cares about quantity? It's about quality. No, absolutely, his ignorance. I'm going to write to Twitch and see if, you know, it's possible to get a subscription button on the stream. I know that they'll make exceptions for a lot of streamers, you know, for particular. That's what they claim anyway. So maybe it's possible. We'll see. If not, not. But I think that it would be pretty cool. Chess is battling constantly with this fight, you know, fight for publicity or whatever. That's why the World Championship match is 12 games instead of 24. Queen b6. This is a strange move because, you know, in many lines he's probably going to play c4 and try to advance like the queenside majority under normal circumstances. So I think queen b6 is controversial here. It's not exposed to direct attacks so much, but I think it might be getting in the way of the pawn majority. Now what do? Rook b1 is a pretty lame move, but it's solid. I can also play queen c2. Queen c2, queen e2. Where do I put my queen in this position? If queen c2, I block my bishop's retreat. And on queen e2, my queen could be exposed along the e file. So there's something to think about here. After queen b6. I could try to castle and sacrifice the pawn on b2, but I don't see anything at all, you know, concrete there. Rook b1 is the safe move. Pretty boring in reality, but maybe that's the right idea, you know. Rook b1 and wait and see what black does. I don't know where I want to put my queen, to be honest with you. I want to be able to retreat the bishop back to c2, and I don't want to commit my queen to e2. The queen could come out along this diagonal later on, maybe. If he exchanges on d4, no problem. We've got a slightly better position. And a decision here, I know a lot of people would prefer to take with a knight here. But the problem is if I do that, it frees his position a lot. He has knight c5, maybe knight e4. So keeping control of these squares might in fact be better than playing against this isolated pawn. If you guys think about these positions where you have the isolated queen pawn, for example, like the French defense, Tarrasch variation, I think that's probably the best line for black, is the one where black gets this isolated pawn on d5. That's probably black's like safest, most solid variation in the French Tarrasch. And that's why, if you know the French, if you follow opening theory, a lot of players with white in the Tarrasch French are playing, like, instead of e4, e6, d4, d5, knight d2, c5, instead of e takes d, which was always the main line, a lot of top players play knight f3 now, because I think objectively in those lines people have figured out how to defend isolated queen pawn positions pretty well. And I don't think that it's, you know, it's this queen e6. You might have had queen e6 check. That's a pretty interesting move there. So now I think I'm slightly better. After queen e6 check, I guess I have to retreat my bishop, or, you know, I don't really want to trade queens. I could be a tiny bit better in a queen trade type position, but, you know, this kind of position is sort of torturous. I have played this sort of structure in the Caro-Kann with black, I mean, and also in well, Nimzo Indian type positions occasionally, mostly Caro-Kann. It's torturous. The d5 pawn with the queen on b6. This pawn is a little bit weak. Still not easy for me to do anything. How can I get that d5 pawn? Bishop e5 maybe? Do we have knight b5? No, he has knight e6 all the time. This is the main idea. What would Michael Adams do? Bishop g5. Transferring to a different type of queen's gambit. He's going to play like bishop e6. And I don't have much here. Alright. We'll just improve our pieces and make sensible moves. I think rook e1 is a developing move. See what black does. He can't put both pieces on e6. He actually, in some lines, wants the knight on e6, and some lines wants the bishop on e6. And so let's put him to the question. No, I wouldn't call King Crusher a Patzer, man. I mean, anybody who's a master shouldn't be labeled as a Patzer. Bishop e6. So we have these support points on e5 and c5. That's where it's at. Trying to do something with these support points. Get black to create some weaknesses in his position maybe. a3 is a useful move. We are a little bit better here. Now he doesn't have knight e6 suddenly. Knight b5 becomes an interesting concept. But it's not enough. I mean, he just defends with rook c8. Knight a4, queen a5 should be better for white. I want to avoid making routine moves. Knight a4 with the idea of, maybe b4. He also has knight e4 sometimes. If I take the pressure off of e4 with this move, we could have problems. Black is still very solid here. It's close to equal, despite like white looking optically better. I I don't think I have too much. Knight a4. He's just going to play like rook c8. Time is running out. I don't see anything clear at all. Knight to b5, rook c8, knight a4, queen a5. He could even play queen d8. Maybe knight a4. This is at least an active move. We have to watch out for the e4 square, which we just vacated. Trapping his queen doesn't seem like a realistic possibility. He's always got back to d8. Okay, this is a little passive. I preferred queen a5. So it looks like we have knight c5, inducing some weaknesses. Also queen b3 might be a good move. Simply queen b3. Play knight e4, I'll just take his pawn on b7. So now he has significant weaknesses in the position. I think I can play bishop b5, bishop a6, threatening stuff. Bishop a6 threatening stuff. That's pretty straightforward. All right. Knight g6. Sure, this knight doesn't really contribute anything great for black. And then bishop d6. That's the problem. Bishop d6. I have to go here to avoid exchanges. But black seems to be basically okay. Now he has some kingside attacking chances. Bishop d6. Maybe I should have exchanged bishops. Seems like he's unraveling here. Bishop takes, pawn takes, or bishop takes, which is better. Bishop takes is a little safer. Leaves me with the most microscopic kind of advantage. Now knight e4. Oh, he's threatening to trap my rook. Nice. Oh, he's threatening that too. Wow, he's got everything. Wow, he's pretty strong. Just won an exchange. I didn't see it. I'm overlooking a lot of sort of obvious stuff. Knight e4. Impressive play by me. I just overlooked knight d2. I became a little frustrated with this game. Looks like I had a great position and let it just completely melt down. Seriously? First game we've played with Astolish Tamash. Pretty impressive. Solid defense followed by a one-move blunder by me. Underestimated. That's a good move too. That'll do it. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare position for white. Running out of time, but I don't want him to play G5, really. The utterly lost position for white. Still, it's not that easy for him to win, technically. I would say black played a solid master strength game here. Opening was a bit weird with queen b6 though. That was odd. Other than that though, now he missed bishop b5, so he's giving me chances to survive, but not enough probably. Not enough. I'm still second chance. Don't get too many second chances. He missed bishop e8 there. That was probably double threat. Now things are getting complicated. I don't see how black's making progress at the moment. He offers a draw. He resigned. You shouldn't resign. I'm not certain this is lost. I have a lot of pawns, but rook g8, knight f5. I'm not certain I'm winning. I mean, it might be, it's better for white, but yeah, I don't think you should resign there. I guess you were frustrated. Totally winning position, no doubt. You should have played b4, bishop e5 and traded my bishop off. And also bishop e8 was winning, so Very fortunate survival by me there. This was, I had knight c7 check, a knight c7 check. Astalish Tomash. Yeah, you had me completely busted. I'm overlooking one move threats. The problem is when you play knight e4, it was a multi threat. You know, I was concerned about my rook getting trapped. So maybe there was no defense. I mean, maybe there just was no defense. And knight a4 was my mistake in the first place. I don't know. I knew that knight e4 was going to come in when I played the move, you know. In fact, knight a4. So my mistake was how I reacted to, you know, knight g6 and the whole bishop h2 knight e5 thing. I guess I should take back with the pawn on e5 and try to play from there. But black was, I believe, you know, equal. It was like never I had a real advantage, some small, somewhat inconsequential kind of opening advantage. I don't think that, I became frustrated because I was looking and looking and looking for something and I couldn't find any really impressive. GCW with the setup here, I've never played very often against. It looks like he's playing a kind of Queen's Gambit accepted, reversed, Ricky Rapport type of thing here. Pretty dangerous if I'm not careful. He'll try to play like e4 later on. Bishop on d3 supporting a later e4. If we played a real Queen's Gambit accepted, it would be like bishop back on c1 and try to do like knight c3, a3, and maybe e4. But it's even more interesting with the bishop on g5. I can play queen b6 now. I feel like it almost feels like obligatory to do something active here while I can. It's a bit risky, of course, but this double pawns is a structure I like to play, and putting the question to his pawn on b2. How can we exploit the fact that his bishop is out on g5? This is the only weakness that's left behind. So, pretty sloppy play by me today. Did you guys ever happen that you feel very focused playing well against strong opponents? Listen, people are different, you know. Some people get real nervous and they play terribly when they play strong opponents. And other people are like super motivated when they play against strong opponents. So it entirely depends on like the psychological makeup. I think I play better against strong opponents. I'm more focused and I try harder. And I tend to let up against weaker players. But it's often different, you know. People are different. So b3, this is a good thing for me. It's not a terrific advantage, but it's a slight concession from white. And hopefully that's enough. I think that we're approximately equal here. But I'm not convinced I have like an advantage per se in this position. Knight e4 is kind of interesting. What does that do ultimately? But here it might actually do quite a bit. We have knight e4. Let's give it a shot. We're not going to get mated on d8, I hope. Always watch out and double check. I don't know. Knight e4, bishop takes e4, d takes e4, knight fd2. A bit of a problem. He has knight c4 ideas. Yeah, maybe it's not that great. We should just play some sort of solid developing move. I'm just not sure what I'm doing in this position. With my bishop on c8 particularly. let's just try to play as actively as we can. I'm not worried about the doubled pawns. We've induced a little bit of a weakness with b3. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So, but the problem is my bishop on c8 is difficult to get in the game. We might have to play some very quiet type of setup with bishop d7. Although, with knight c6 now, I do have the ability to think about playing e5. Anyway, last move, knight e4, was interesting. It was very interesting. Knight e4, bishop takes e4, d takes e4, knight fd2. I didn't clearly see what I'm supposed to do there. After that, I'm a little worried I'm going to like walk into knight c4 or knight takes e4. Not developing my pieces. So, I don't know. This is an interesting opening. Bit of a weird order of moves in the opening. e3, c5, d takes c5. Not commonly played. And in the past, I'm trying to remember. The late Heinrich Chepakaitis might have played this against me. But I don't know, it's been a long time since he died. I played him on ICC a lot years ago. Was a really good blitz player. c3 castles. Maybe hold off on castles to see what we're doing here. This would be a very passive move, but maybe not bad. Let's develop a piece. It's not much, but it's solid. Now knight e4 is still interesting. It always like gains a tempo on the bishop on g5. Still, I'm not convinced by it. It's like take knight d2, and my e4 pawn is hanging. He's got knight c4 sometimes. Looks a little bit weird. h6 is weakening. Castle's queenside, that's maniacal. Castle's kingside. Then he has some maybe queen c2 type move. h6, anybody? h6 with the idea of what? Bishop f4, knight h5. h6, bishop h4, g5. Bishop g3, knight h5. Well, it's interesting. Let's play. It's a complicated position. Let's try it. Capablanca did a similar thing. He liked to go for the dark squared bishop. And I remember one game in particular where Capablanca actually encouraged his opponent to chop. And I've seen a lot of Trompowsky players who don't like to give up their dark squared bishop. So, since I'm not castled, we have some flexibility here. We could castle queenside. We could leave the king in the center. Now I'm looking for knight h5, or even g5 anyway. Here doesn't really make a difference. g5. We go for the ever-popular bishop pair. Knight here. Knight takes g5, h takes g. There's no discoveries. And we're going to pick up the bishop pair. Running out of time. Okay, let's go for it. It's pretty complicated. Cheveningen, what? You're talking about... In the press conference, there's a question about his opening move. Some people thought that you accidentally released the rook from your hand too early. Yeah, I don't know what you guys were talking about. Okay, rook e1. There was a sharp line there. b4, bishop e7, b5. That might have been favorable for white. I was a little bit worried about b4. But this seems to be okay for black now. The bishop pair. And we go for it, I guess. There he goes. Now where? Bishop d6. Bishop d6 is by far the more active move. You could also play bishop f8, idea bishop g7. It's kind of interesting. Okay, this is pretty sharp. My king is somewhat exposed. Knight takes or queen takes. Queen a2. Queen takes, knight takes. GCW has 5 minutes to my 1 minute. Actually, GCW beat me in my simul. He's not usually here in the blitz stream. It's unusual to see him. Has he ever played in the blitz stream? Never. Oh, that's weird. He's never played in the blitz classical stream, just in the simuls. Datalist is watching. Datalist? With no games? Is he like a recorder of games or something? Knight e5. Wow. What do we do now? I don't care about that guy too much, right? Oh, f7. Yeah, I care about f7. Never mind. We do care about f7. I've overlooked enough one-move threats today. But GCW, interesting game. 1700 blitz, 1600 bullet, 1800 classical. He did beat me for the first time, but he's given me a lot of tough games. Reminds me a little bit of our former moderator. Not in style, not in openings, but in the way, was it? Former moderator used to give us tough games, but always end up on the short end of the stick somehow. Knight a3. What's up with this position? The knight on e5 looks a little lonely, doesn't it? Should I take the knight and play f6? Kind of hate to give up my dark squared bishop, but it's feeling like that's one less piece that can hurt me, you know, basically. Here, simplifying might be my best defense. Getting his knight out of e5. I really wanted to keep the bishop pair, to be honest with you guys, but as the knight coming back to d4, no thank you. I don't want this knight coming back to d4. Of course, he has a check. Playing pretty good, dude, for a 1600. You are tough, man. Queen b1. I am more than happy to trade queens any day of the week here. Get off this horrible file. That is a serious error for white, to trade queens. In this position where my king is pretty sketchy, you went from probably much better to significantly worse in one move by trading queens there. The ending is better for black. I have a better structure. You have 2 isolated pawns. So that was the first and only mistake of this game by white. Queen b1. Do not trade pieces when you're in an attacking position. I didn't feel my king was secure. My counterplay on the other side is pretty slow. That's a good positional move now. What do I do? All right. Try to mobilize. Man, I don't have any time. Just don't have any time. His position looks totally defensible. Slightly worse for white. I almost wanted to take with the pawn, but it gives him a passed pawn on the A file. I mean, is that really right to give him a passed pawn on the A file? I erred on the side of caution, much like Magnus Carlsen. So guitar player, GCW reminds me of guitar player. He's around 1700, but very tough, hard to beat, but different opening. Guitar player always played, what, E4. It's not the same player. And now H5. I don't know. H5 maybe. Into the center. H4. Playing well. Pawn takes H4 now. He's in time with Rook H1. Play G4 here. Try to get some counterplay. White's got 2 minutes to my 11 seconds. That's pretty good, man. I'd be panicking if I were me. Ivan Chucky data list. We have some tricks, maybe. I'm not in love with this position. Knight D2, I was expecting. He's got G3 all prepared. Rook H2. Super fast. I feel like I'm fighting against an equal, or even, I wouldn't say stronger, but pretty strong player here. Now he's better. With the time usage is like brutal. He makes every move quickly. My king is in danger. That was a strange move. Whoa. He's extremely fast. Almost checkmating me. Can't play Rook F7. We're just extremely lucky that he played a little bit too fast. But I felt like I'm playing an equal strength opponent here. The only flaw in his play was trying to blitz me a little bit too much. He overpressed. Ain't no stopping that pawn, obviously. But entirely lucky result. I guess this is the last game for today, guys. We ended on a positive note. Got it covered. We've got it covered, man. Everything is covered. E3 is covered. Quite an impressive game, guys. We're going to be back tomorrow and keep fighting against you guys who are giving me a lot of tough games. Almost every game today was extremely tough. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. CET. Again, check out the YouTube channel. You can send me emails if you have any questions. Thursday, I am leaving. So Thursday, I'm leaving in the morning. There'll be just a stream tomorrow, and then we have a week off, and we'll be back the following Friday. So a whole week, no stream, guys. Sorry for that. Spinal Tap, I did it, man. It wasn't easy. It was pretty ugly. We got ourselves, like, you know, we like to give people like 2 or 3 minute time odds and then try to beat them. Basically, I like to spend like a minute on a move, on move 5, and then like on move 7, I spend another minute on a move, and then on move 10, I spend another. So it's like usually a 3 minute hole I put myself in, and then if they play well after that, it gets really, really scary. And that's what happened here. So anyway, good to see you, Spinal Tap, man. Sorry you missed most of the stream. Good to have you always, as always, and best of luck, man. So we'll see you guys later, and peace until tomorrow. Bye-bye.